Hi, my name is Steve Dana, and I am the lead facilitator for the WSWHE BOCES network team, Race to the Top network team. And this morning's October 26th webcast is going to be on Race to the Top. It'll be a general description and also a status report of how we're doing as a network team. This is a Prezi, and there'll be a link that you can find on our website at wswheBOCES.org and click on a Race to the Top link and you'll find it there. So, everyone in New York State certainly is familiar with the New York State Ed Department .gov site on Race to the Top. And of course, we know the Race to the Top is a $4.35 billion fund from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And it's designed to encourage education, innovation, and reform. It's a 5-year effort. And the goals for New York State are, among others, to 1, adopt the Common Core state standards for ELA and Math, pre-K through grade 12. 2, to use interim assessment data to inform instruction. And 3, evaluate teachers and principals annually on their effectiveness based on performance and student growth on state and local assessments. There is a 4th deliverable, turnaround schools, which we are not addressing at this point. In terms of student achievement, New York State Ed and districts have set targets for 4th, 8th, and high school ELA and Math, as well as graduation targets. And subgroup performance targets have been set for special ed, ethnicity, English language learners, gender, and socioeconomics. And the timeline. For this year, we are doing training on the implementation of Common Core state standards for ELA and Math. We are doing trainings on the implementation of school-based inquiry teams and in the process of data-driven instruction, and on the APPR process for teachers and principals in ELA and Math. Next year, the timeline has us doing training on the access and use of the early warning data system, a system that's designed to target students that are at risk. Access and use of the instructional improvement reporting system. Training on the implementation of ELA and Math curriculum models that are aligned with Common Core. Training on the use of ELA and Math formative assessments aligned with Common Core. And the implementation of new performance evaluations for all remaining teachers and principals. The following year, 2013-14, we are looking at training for implementation of curriculum models for the other areas, science, social studies, and art. And the use of formative assessments in those subject areas, and the implementation of performance evaluations for all teachers and principals using a state-developed value-added growth model. And then the following year, we will transition into the PARC assessments. So there's a lot happening in the next few years with Race to the Top. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we've done to date, and we're also going to talk about things that we plan on doing, as well as the whole idea of change and the process of change and strategies to get through that process. So, network teams. There are 37 BOCES and there are 37 network teams. Those teams consist of experts in curriculum, data analysis, and instruction. And the role of those teams is to ensure successful RttT implementation through targeted professional development and guidance and support for all districts. Our network team here at the WSWH BOCES is made up of Dr. Janie Cornell, Anthony Muller, myself, Courtney Jablonski, and Dr. Nicole Catapano. To date, we have done the following. First of all, we've worked hard on communication. We have a really fantastic Race to the Top link on our WSWHE BOCES webpage. We have a LinkedIn account and group. The group title is WSWHE BOCES Race to the Top. Join the group and you'll get weekly updates and other resources, and you can also, of course, contribute in discussion forums. We send out newsletters, webcasts, weekly announcements, etc. And we also have a regional Race to the Top survey that we are conducting with administrators and teachers, and which we will present the results of shortly. In terms of professional development offerings, to date, we have done sessions on implementing math and ELA Common Core standards. We've had experts from the region and outside the region come to our site and work with teachers from all our 31 districts on how to implement Common Core standards in their lesson plans. We've also done training on the Danielson rubric for teacher, APPR. These trainings were done for principals as well as teachers. We've done sessions on ensuring inter-rater reliability for teacher observations and data-driven instruction for school inquiry teams. What we have planned in the next 2 months are sessions on using the Understanding by Design model to implement Common Core state standards. We have a session, makeup session that is on the teacher APPR. This will be for principals. We have another makeup session on the data-driven instruction model for school inquiry teams. And then we are doing principal APPR training for district administrators. That would include superintendents and their assistants. And the same training, but for principals. So we mentioned that this is a change process. And this cartoon, I think, captures the essence of how we feel at times about change. And it's a complicated process, and a lot of research has been done to explore the process. And what we do know is that people approach change with different mental models, different perceptions, experiences, and these mental models are shaped by those animal spirits, our emotions. And sometimes we can get a pufferfish response, a resistance to change. And there are ways to get past that. Otto Scharmer from MIT has a theory process of change in which he basically says that for change to happen, for reform to happen, we need to, one, have an open mind. We need to be open to different data. And then, of course, two, we need to have an open heart. We have to try to remove the cynicism and be open-hearted about the effort. And then, basically, we have to be mindful about what we're doing. And that's where the open will comes in. Cotter and Cohen describe change in 8 steps. And that first step is the sense of urgency, which I'm sure we can all agree is omnipresent during this time of education. And then we've got the other steps: forming a guiding coalition, creating a vision, communicating the vision, empowering others to act, creating the quick wins, building on the change, and institutionalizing the change. The National Association for Secondary School Principals, in their Breaking Ranks training a few years back, came up with a 5-step process to change. And what happens when those items are missed? For example, when you don't have vision, you'll have confusion. When you lack skills, people get anxious. They get fearful. The stress is fear of the unknown. If there's no incentive, people can become resistant. A lack of resources leads to frustration. People know what they need to do, they want to do it, but when the resources aren't there, they get frustrated. And then, of course, without an action plan, one will be on a treadmill. So all this leads to stress. And fortunately for us, we know that there are ways to deal with stress. And let's take a look at this video to start. Okay, what's the point of that video? The point is that, if you notice, there was teamwork. There was collaboration. They worked together, they communicated, and they solved the problem. And right now the problem is, how do we do all this under the duress of fiscal constraints, lack of time, lack of resources? One way we do that is through an efficacious mindset, or self-efficacy. A lot of research behind efficacy, but one of the founding fathers, you might say, is Albert Bandura. And basically, to develop one's efficacy, you need to target different aspects or antecedents. The first being mastery experiences. People do better when they know better, which is why the work of the network team is so critically important. Professional development and opportunities to get mastery are critically important to develop the confidence to succeed with this Race to the Top initiative. The second is vicarious learning, basically seeing how others are doing things and going to sites and visiting and watching others succeed in various processes and methodologies. The third is feedback, positive, detailed feedback. And the fourth factor that promotes efficacy, self-efficacy, is having a good social emotional state. We know from Sir Francis Bacon, and we just know from experience, that knowledge is power. And what we're hoping to develop in our schools is a sense of academic optimism. This is a term that was coined by Hoy, Tarter, and Hoy. And basically, in academically optimistic settings, you're going to find schools that have an emphasis on academic rigor, that are collectively efficacious. In other words, they believe in the capacity of one another, and they trust one another, the community, and the children. So some final words. When people understand the vision and we take away the barriers, they're going to be successful. This is from Cotter and Cohen. And one more final thought is the fact that we're in a leveraged moment in our nation's history. And how we, as individuals, schools, and districts, respond to the Race to the Top reform agenda will help shape the United States education system and our ability to succeed in an increasingly competitive global community. So there's our Race to the Top network team report, and we hope that it's informative and inspiring as well.